Hello everybody. So today in this video, I will answer a question from one of my viewers. So the question is, how can I get better at data structures and algorithms if I'm brand new? Read code seems too hard. So I will answer this question in this video. So thank you for asking this question. Yeah, I'm happy to answer any request, any question. Yeah, because as my you know channel name suggests, I'd like to be the guiding light for you all. Okay. That being said, let me get started. Okay, so firstly, as your reference, I will talk about my case. So I started programming seriously in 2018 when I was 23. Yeah. So I majored in geophysics. So I mean, not the computer science. So in my undergraduate, I didn't do programming so much. Yeah. I had some lectures to do programmings, but I wasn't so serious. So in that sense, I started programming seriously in 2018. So I used Java and Python. Yeah. And then I started algorithm solving in LeetCode in 2020. So I will share my no, LeetCode profile here. So in 2020, you can find that I created an account and I started it. And I remember that in 2021, I seriously and intensively did it. But more accurately saying, I did it intensively only on the weekend, and on weekdays, I didn't do it that much. So it was in 2021. But after that, in late 2021 and 2022, 2023, I didn't do it with coding that much. I focused on other things like reading the technical books or OSS activity or something like that. But in 2024, I resumed it. Actually, there was Amazon US job interview in the end of January, so I resumed it in 2024. Yeah, my ultimate goal in my life, for now, is to live in the United States, and that position, you know, supported the visa. So it was a great opportunity, but I failed at it, unfortunately. So after that, I decided to resume read coding and did it for 5 months intensively, this time every day. And I got a job offer from my current company, Hopper, um, which is a Canadian company, which is very good, even though I'm still in Tokyo. Yeah. And after that, in 2025, this year, I decided to resume it again because I wanted to get the read code Guardian. Yeah. I'm really into read coding. So I decided to do it. And after 6 months, um, I remember that it was in April. So maybe after 4 months, I got the Guardian badge. Yep. And I'm still continuing it as the Algo Coach YouTube channel. Okay, so that being said, yeah, this is my case. I will talk about it later, but the truth I can say, in 2021, I did it intensively only on the weekend. And actually, it wasn't so efficient for my growth. So I'm pretty sure I should have done it every day, even if it is little by little. Yeah. So that's a kind of tip I will share with you later. Okay. So okay, from here I will give you some advice on the technical side. Yeah. I will talk about the advice in the mindset perspective later in the later section. But for now, this is more about technical things. Okay. The first thing and the primary thing I want to tell you is focus on only one new thing. Don't challenge new two things at the same time. And I will tell you the reason and what I mean by this um, in the whole, section. Okay. The first advice from me is use Python as long as you are not super familiar with specific language. Yeah. If you are familiar with Java or C++, yes, go for it. But if you don't have a specific strong language for you, I recommend Python because it's very simple and you don't have to remember so many um grammar and syntax. Yeah. And also you don't have to write so much code in Python. So I recommend Python. So something I'd like to emphasize here is, as I said, Python is one of the easiest language. And I don't want you to struggle learning the language while solving the LeetCode questions. It step by step. Yeah. So that's why I recommend Python, which is the simplest, I think. Okay, so the second advice, learn the patterns first. And then in the next step, in the next phase, you reach the level that you think how you can combine the patterns for harder question. So I will give you an example. So if you're a parent and you have a baby and you'd like to teach your baby how to play baseball. So in that case, the first thing you will teach to the baby would be how to walk, then how to run, then how to swing something, how to throw something. It's a step by step. The same for LeetCode. Yeah. First thing you have to do is quite familiar with some pattern. Maybe it's like how to write the 2 pointers, how to write the sliding window pattern, how to write DFS, BFS, or something like that. Yeah. Please focus on one thing, which is to familiar with that. Yeah. And then you're, quite familiar with that, you reach a step that you will think how we can combine such patterns to solve harder question. And in that phase, LeetCode becomes a very interesting game. Yeah. So that being said, in this phase, learning the patterns phase, don't think too much. Don't take too much time on one question. Rather, solve easy question more. So like instead of thinking for one question for an hour, solve 2 easy questions in an hour. Because your purpose here is to learn the pattern. Your purpose is not come up with the pattern. Okay. So here I will give you the next tip. So I recommend this that you should learn the pattern first. And when you try to learn the pattern, there is a kind of order you should follow. So again, I will read this again. Focus on only one new thing. So if you are not familiar with the syntax of the Python, you should focus only on learning it. Don't try to write binary search with Python. You are not, super familiar and easy to write for you. So firstly, be familiar with Python by writing loops and if statement. Yeah, focus on this first. Then, if you're familiar with that, try to write Python with using some basic data structures like reset dictionary. Then next, try to solve some questions of 2 pointers. So in 2 pointers, you have to move cursor, or I should say pointer index. I mean 2 pointers, 2 indexes at the same time. Yeah. Again, you shouldn't solve these 2 pointers first because you have to be familiar with moving only single pointer. And once you're familiar with moving the single pointer, then you are ready to move 2 pointers at the same time. Yeah. Then once you're familiar with this, solve recursion questions, then press first search, depth of search. Yeah, because depth of search uses a recursion, so you have to be, you have to be able to write recursion Yep. So quickly before trying to write and learn depth first search. And then maybe you can try graph questions. Yeah. So keep this order. And this, obviously, this list is not thorough. There's some other categories like binary search or heap or something like that. So I don't have the roadmap yet. So please request me if you want the roadmap, and I will create a video for you. Okay, so I recommended that you solve category by category. Yeah. And probably your next question will be, which question should I solve in each question? Give me the list. Unfortunately, I don't have the list yet. But I can recommend you refer to this one, LeetCode.com study plan, and you can find the set of binary questions, dynamic programming questions, graph questions. This was really nice. I used this. Also, yeah, there's some good questions in this. LeetCode.com Explore LAM. So you can find dynamic programming section, maybe graph section, and when you click it, you can find some, list of questions and some, explanations in some pages. Like, oh, I can't find it. Yeah, maybe here in memorization, I mean, in the recursion section, you can find some explanation. So maybe you can reference this as the list of questions. But please request me if you want the list created by me. Yeah, I'm happy to create the list and create a new video. So yeah, please request. Okay. And that being said, I recommend you solve 50 questions in total in each category. And here, as I said, your purpose isn't to think and come up with the solution. Rather, your goal here is to reproduce the kind of code snippet, or I should say formula, accurately and quickly with some application or adaptation. So that being said, I recommend you solve the questions. Maybe here, as I said, um, instead of thinking so wrong, solve a bit easier questions more. Yeah, that's something I can recommend. And also, you should solve. I think it is a good way to solve the same question twice or maybe 3 times. Maybe immediately after solving for the first time. So let me tell you why. So you open the laptop and you open the question page, and then you read the question statement, and then you figure out which pattern you can use. Then you write the code, and after that, if you immediately repeat it, you can skip the first steps. You don't have to open the laptop again. You don't have to read the statement. You don't have to come up with the pattern. So you can, practice exactly this part only. Yeah, because you almost remember what you should do. So when your goal is to, reproduce the code snippet quickly and accurately, this is a good approach, I think. I recommend this. Oh, and by the way, I told you that I should solve 20 easy and 30 medium questions here, but I know there are some exceptions. For example, in the graph questions, there aren't so many easy questions. So probably you should solve 50 medium questions in the graph category. Yeah. Okay, so from here, I will give you one more tip. So I recommend you to create the list of questions before starting to solve them. So for example, I will show my case. So this is my note in Confluence page and binary search category. So I listed the questions in the study plan here. Then I took note of the date I solved and the status, if I could solve it or not. And also um, some learnings from this question or mistakes I made in this question. I noticed them all in this conference page. Yeah, in this table. So I recommend this because number one, once you create the list, you have to hyper focus on solving questions. You don't have to think, oh, which question should I solve next or something like that. So that's why I recommend this first. And the second reason is that you can visualize your effort you've made. So this motivates you so much. Yeah. And probably you feel so confident by looking at the questions you solved so far. Okay. Yep. So these are the things I can recommend. Oh, by the way, I told you that here you should be able to reproduce the code snippet, or I should say formula, um, quickly. So where is the code snippet? You should create it by yourself by solving some questions. In my case, this is a binary search formula, kind of cheat sheet for me. Yep. So I created this list, and yeah, I don't reference this that much so often recently, but creating this helps you organize your thought. So I strongly recommend creating this snippet page. And obviously, you don't have to create the snippet first. This is something you should grow while solving many questions. Sometimes, like I solve a question, and if I find a new kind of pattern which can be used for many questions, I add it here, like this. Or if you find that there is a better kind of implementation, which is maybe easier or more simplified or more intuitive, yeah, you should modify the snippet you've written. So in that way, this conference page can be quite useful. Yeah, conference usage is, I mean, you can use conference for free as long as you use it by yourself. If you try to share the content with your friends or other users, you have to pay for it. But in my case, I use it only by myself, so it's for free. Okay. Okay, from here, I will give you some tips from the perspective of your mindset. So, the first advice I can give you is make it a habit to solve LeetCode every day. So, as I've shared, in 2021, I did it so intensively only on the weekend. But actually, it wasn't so efficient because obviously, you do solve so many questions a weekend, and on the weekdays, you forget what you solved, and on the next Saturday, you have to refresh your memory and resume practice. Yeah, it wasn't so efficient. So little by little, day by day, solve questions consistently. So that's my first advice. And if you feel it's so tough, solve easy question or medium question you solved yesterday. Yeah. So you don't have to make a new challenge every day. You don't have to solve a kind of challenging question every day. It totally fine that if you're really tired, you can just solve an easy question and say it's done. It's totally fine. Or you can solve the question you solved yesterday or maybe a week ago to refresh what you did. That's also fine. Yeah. Also, I'd like to emphasize that paying consistency is really hard. Yeah. I know there are so many times that you feel so tired of continuing and you'd like to give up. You'd like to stay in the bed. Yeah. You'd like to scroll your TikTok or maybe Instagram. But the pain you feel is the same pain that makes 90% of people give up. So if you can be consistent, which means that you've already beaten 90% of people. And everybody, almost everybody goes through those processes. Yeah. Except for genius engineers. Very few genius engineers. So yeah, please keep consistent. Okay. And I believe that this consistency is the skill, the strongest skill in your life and in my life. So this can be applied everywhere, every time in your life, in many fields. So read coding, I think it's a good practice to get consistency. And once you become consistent in read code, it becomes much easier to be consistent in any field. So hang tight. Okay, so the next tip is to enjoy yourself getting better. The read coding is just like the video games, or maybe muscle trainings, or maybe baseball games. More you practice, better you get. So please enjoy yourself getting better. And imagine the strong yourself. It will be very, very motivating, I think. Okay, the last tip from me is believe yourself getting better. Yeah. So I know there are some times that you can't believe yourself getting better in the future. Yeah. Then for me. And my tip is you don't grow linearly. Your progress appears suddenly at the breakthrough. I think you will be stuck for maybe 3 days, a week. Yeah. Maybe there will be a little bit of regression also. But in the end, you will be better. And you becomes better suddenly. So keep this in your mind. Okay. And also, if you think that you wouldn't be get better, count how many questions you can solve if you solve it every day in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. It will be 300, 600, 1000. Definitely, if you solve that many questions, you become much better. So imagine that. Imagine yourself continuing. Not think of you in short term. Think in the long term. Okay, that's my final tip from me. Okay, that being said, thanks for watching my video. Yeah, obviously this video is not the perfect version as the answer of this question. Maybe I come up with another idea and I will take a follow-up video, or maybe I comment something in the description of this YouTube video page. Yeah. Yeah. So please ask me any questions. Please request anything, and I will try to help you. Okay, thank you so much. Bye.